Hello, everybody. You are listening to Startup Secrets for Entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Shelby Olischlager. Our mission here is to help entrepreneurs make a difference and navigate the messy world of startup or relaunch. Join me today where we dig deep with our guests to give you the best concepts and strategies to fast track your business. Today, our special guest is Elona Lopari. So Elona, first, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on this show. And to get started, please tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelby, for having me on your amazing show. And I love the mission and vision of your show, especially being a startup entrepreneur myself. And I'll share a little bit of my background of how did I, find myself in this journey, as it's absolutely a journey. And I love the way you described that. So what I do is I'm a high-level business strategist, and I help visionary leaders align their life and business with their purpose through branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team, in helping them grow to 6 and 7 figures by getting back more freedom and more time, especially a startup. As entrepreneurs, we all start somewhere. We're going to our businesses to get more freedom, but we really find that the journey is not quite as expected. We have to wear all the hats, especially at the beginning. We are bootstrapping. We might not have the sales or the traction that we're looking for. So I think it's important to really surround yourself with the right mentors and all of that, so that we can get the right help, needs, and tools to really navigate the world of business while they're also building a life legacy. So my journey started as a corporate, I say corporate dropout now. It's been 5 years that I've been in my own business. I climbed the corporate ladder. I was in the retail industry. So I did a lot of roles within my 15 years there. I did marketing, sales, HR. My latest role was executive leadership. But I always say that journey ended because the vision and the mission of the company I worked for changed. And it really changed from the culture being mission-driven to profit-driven. So, of course, that's where I really didn't see a fit and alignment with what I was doing. So I ventured out on my own as an entrepreneur. I knew I had a lot of skills and experience. So at that point in time, I said, I don't want to repeat what I've done. I don't want to get another 9 to 5 and just continue to do that. So let me just see what I can do on my own. So I started as an executive with executive coaching because that was my most comfortable role before I pivoted. And I did some career coaching because of my HR experience. I still felt I was in a corporate environment. And now, because I've built my own business, pretty successful, I would say up to 7 figures, now I have the passion of helping other entrepreneurs through what I've learned along the journey, through mentorships, trials, errors, all of that. In helping their businesses and scaling their businesses to those levels. That's a little bit about how I got here. So lack of fulfillment is what drove my curiosity, and I, took this journey, and I have not looked back.
Exactly. And that's such a cool thing of it all, is that you found this little bit of resistance somewhere, and then you decided to take the leap, and look where it brought you. Like, look at where you are right now, which is so awesome. So I would like to go back a little bit of that transitional period, because I feel like a lot of people experience they're in the 9 to 5, they want to escape, they're not sure how. So what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I think that's honestly the hardest moment for a lot of people, because especially for me, I came from the structured corporate environment. So I got used to being told what to do in a lot of things, right? So, and I used to always joke with my husband, because he's also an entrepreneur, but in the construction industry for 10 years. So he was actually a major push that when this whole thing happened, he's like, just try this on your own. But it's uncertain at that time. And a lot of times, if we are used to staying in our comfort zones with the work that we've done for so long, it's just kind of like hard to see, that there's actually something else in the horizon, and we don't really know how to adapt. We don't know how to find ourselves. We don't know like what exactly should we start. So that absolutely, I've been through that journey and experience, and I always talk about at that point is where I started a lot of personal development. I think that's where, because I was feeling a lot of conflict and I didn't know what direction and all of that. So really, I would say I followed my gut because I would listen to my inner voice. and he would told me that you need to change direction, you need to pivot. So I kind of did it the practical way because I'm also a very practical person. So I built my business while I was still working. And for 2 years, I took phone calls from the car. I posted content all over the place. Like I did what I had to do to put my mark out there in the world while I was still working. And when I was able to comfortably take the whole, pivot, I did that. So that's kind of how I did it. But of course, I had the choice of, having my job and still being able to be effective and productive there while I was doing it because of the years of experience that I had and the team and all of that. But, not everyone has that. And a lot of times I also work now with so many people that are launching their businesses. And now not everyone has that luxury where you can just make that choice. And in a way, I feel like it's easier when like your carpets pull up from underneath your feet, because you're like, okay, I have to figure it out, and I feel like that is a bigger driver than when you have options. Because even as an entrepreneur, I think because the going gets tough. And at the beginning, you're working for a lot of hours and not a lot of pay and all of that. And you are investing in yourself and you're putting in a lot of things. You're learning, you're growing, and you don't always see that traction. It's so easy to just be like, I've had that thought many times, like, I want to go back to my job. I want to go back to employee mindset. Like I have my salary, I have my income coming in every month, because this journey was like, oh my gosh, it was just too much, right? So anyway, that was my experience, but I think it could be either way. You make it work. I think once you have a passion inside of you and you have something to share with the world and you have collected life experience, this journey is amazing because of no limits of what you can achieve. That's kind of what always attracted me. And then pairing that with personal development, I said, okay, I got to stay here because I'm not only going to personally grow, but I'm going to also financially grow, make an income, make an impact, and still do the work I love while helping so many people along their journey. So for me, it's just like piecing those things. They gave me that vision to pull forward while, at the beginning, you're building from, I don't want to say zero but I always say you're building from experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of said something that made me think of, I forget how the metaphor goes completely, but it's saying like, if you want to take the island or claim the island, you have to burn the boats, meaning you have no backup plan. And that really makes people step up to that whole other level that they don't even realize they can step up to because they ran out of options. So I do think that's a pretty interesting point as well. And you mentioned personal development. Can we talk a little bit about that? Was there any sort of obstacles that were kind of either surprising for you that you had to overcome while you started this new adventure?
Yeah, a lot of obstacles, a lot of new fears unraveling, a lot of money mindset fears that just came up because my background is my parents migrated here from Albania. I'm natively Albanian, and I was one of the oldest child. So I always saw lack of money in my family and all of that. So when I took this pivot, there was a lot of uncertainty. So a lot of those things came up. So of course I had to work through the process of a lot of that stuff that showed up for me, and just dealing with uncertainty and really transitioning from employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset. That is still something that's a work in progress, even after 5 years. But I would say those are some of the biggest things, and kind of like seeing failure as learning. I had to change a lot of stories of how I saw things. I had to deal with sabotage, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, all of that. And now that I know better, it's more, in check. You get used to it and you're always staying aware. But at that early on, it was like, oh my gosh, it's like one thing after another. You just have to do a lot of self-development because it's a new territory. You still haven't established yourself, and you're looking at on your right, on your left, comparing. You're like, which one do I do? How do I grow a business? Because there's obviously the world of business is so complex. But I would just say, honestly, the advice that I now give like other entrepreneurs is like one baby step at a time. just take the next right step, and then you build momentum, you build yourself. Nothing gets easier as you grow, but you get stronger because now you just put yourself through that journey and you become more resilient through it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I really like the idea that you're learning these things. So now you can help these other people that are going through something similar. Maybe they're a few steps behind you, but you have your experience that you can now rely on. You mentioned money mindset or mind blocks. I think that's such a common thing, especially with women, of not being sure how to market or how to price themselves or pricing their value. So what were some of the things that you went through that have helped you overcome some of those money blocks?
Yeah, for sure. At the beginning, I wanted to help everyone. I think we all start there. And I didn't really understand how to articulate the value I brought in the marketplace, right? And how I should have positioned myself, differently from other people that did what I did. Now, obviously, I teach these things and now I see them also in my clients. But that's kind of what I had to discover early on. So it was seriously undercharging for everything because I wanted to stay competitive by price. So I'm like, at least I'm learning also along the way. So that was like the justification that I was telling myself. And of course, that didn't last very long. I could not sustain that because I just got burned out, just had a lot of things on my plate. And it took the joy of fulfillment, of soul fulfillment, because yes, I was helping people, but I didn't have a lot of income. So I'm like, wait, I can't do this forever. I might need to go get a job, right? Yeah. So that was my dilemma until I learned what I learned along the journey. But I think a lot of women definitely we have a lot of growth in this area. And I've actually seen this with women leaders because I did executive coaching as well. So we don't see we're always in service. I know everyone says this. I don't want to repeat a lot of, it's overdone, like in messaging wise. I think we understand, but, we need someone to hold the mirror up for us because we have amazing things that we have to offer to the world, but we just don't see it. And a lot of times you undervalue yourself because you just think like, oh, but this is not something amazing that I'm doing. Like, what do you mean? Like, you don't know that. But like to someone else, that's gold. Like, they don't know that. It does not come naturally to them. So really honoring your gifts, your skills, your experience, and packaging that properly, obviously, not just, to charge more money. That's not the point. The point is that how is it that you can create value for people and what are results that you can create in the marketplace? So really attaching that, seeing it objectively is really, really important, but, never deriving it from your own self-worth. I think the self-worth part is going to be our own work, personal work, but your offers and the things you bring to the market and the people that you're helping, that should be more objective based on, the articulation of the messaging, the pain points you solve, the way you position yourself differently in the market, and the way you're able to articulate the results. And of course, have the results, right? Because your reputation is very important, right? That's how you build a brand. I teach a lot about brand building because the bigger you want to go, it's all about your brand, right? And your personal brand, especially as service providers. So yeah, I would say, those are some of the most common things.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I even noticed within my own experience of using different ways to share your value, but that doesn't have to do with money, like using point systems for instance, as a way for methods. So people, they like points or like being a part of the membership. So it's not really like, here's cash and dollars. It's more of like a point thing. And I found that to be super helpful as well, just as my own mental blocks and my money blocks, there's different ways to go about those type of systems. You mentioned just now the personal branding. I'm curious, what are some of the main key components that you notice and that you feel are really important for us to develop a better personal brand?
Yeah, for sure. I love this question because every chance I get to answer it, it's like, I think there's more education around what branding is. Because when we thought, and I used to do the same, I'm like, branding, okay, I need a website and I need to pick my colors. Like, which colors do I like that fit and align with me? Mm-hmm. And branding is so much more than that. It's really about visibility, right? Reaching the right audiences, reaching the right communities, serving with what you do. Creating your messaging is so important. Honestly, I think that's the most important part of branding, which is your messaging, the way that people relate to you. And how are you present, consistent, online? What does your omnipresence look like? What does your online presence look like? Where is your audience, and how are you marketing and branding yourself? Which marketing is, how are you serving them? In really nurturing those relationships with your ideal audience, and really putting yourself out in collaboration, giving yourself the visibility. I always say you can have amazing gifts, you can do amazing work, but if people don't know about you, then you're going to stay small, and you're not going to be able to make such a big impact, and you're not going to be able to serve as many people as you potentially can, because they just don't know that you exist. And that is the ultimate not disappointment. I'm not finding the right word. It's the ultimate thing that people don't see all the amazing things that you have to offer. Yeah. So visibility is big. And for me, branding is all about the messaging, because that also makes you not only stand out, with your messaging, but also authentic wise. We like connecting with authenticity, right? And at the end of the day, no one buys programs, no one buys memberships, no one buys anything. They buy you first because they connected with you emotionally. And that's the power of a personal brand. And then once you have that presence there, later on, the bigger your business, obviously, the more people you have, the more team, you create ambassadors for your brand, your client testimonials, all the good you've done in the world, social proof, all the things you're doing. So another thing that as women, we struggle with is talking about our work. The results we have created in the world, and talking about that in a genuine way, but just showcasing that, because I grew up with that to mean that was bragging. So I did a lot of that myself. I was like, well, let people talk about what I do. Like, I don't want to talk about that. There's a lot of that. I'm like, I don't want to bother people. Like, if they feel like, they will share. But I had to learn a lot, to create now systems in my business, because people are busy. We need a call to action. Otherwise, I don't know how to support you. So you need to let me know exactly how is it that I can support you, especially if you've done amazing work in the world and you are proud of your work. I always say, like, referrals means you do amazing work, but we also need a system for that, because we can't just rely on people, sharing what kind of amazing results or experience they've had with us. We need a system around, because everyone's busy. We need to set all these in place so we know they're always working to share our brand story and to make an impact and to inspire someone that might be in the journey and needs our help, but they just don't know how to reach us, or that we are available to help them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it all makes so much sense and I totally feel that way, of being scared or unsure to actually express what I do, or being comfortable of that bragging that you said, which it really isn't bragging. You're just really sharing and passionately sharing what you do and how well you do it, really. You just mentioned stuff about systems. So I'm curious now, like, has there been any big pivotal changes that you've made as far as creating very well operating systems for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Systems is another favorite topic of mine. I think, it's all really encompasses a great company that we're building, right? I mean, if we just want to get self-employed, this is not the journey. You can go get a job, not have to stress. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, we have to move up from the solopreneur and up, right? So we need to build a company on systems. So systems set you free. That's my favorite saying. We don't want to be chained to our business and have all the knowledge in our brain, right? And especially as entrepreneurs, we have all the knowledge in our brain. So then starting to create systems is starting to dump out our processes, not only the processes of how we help our clients and service them, but also the processes, day-to-day processes that we have going on, whether it's our marketing, our messaging, our content creation. our sales system, the journeys of how we bring people to our world, or funnels, maybe they're called in that way traditionally. How is it that we are always attracting the right audience towards us, and what does that journey look like for people? Like, what is the touch points that we need to have moving forward? That's just like the front of the house, and then we have the back of the house, right, where we are serving clients, where we are have systems around manuals, around processes of how can they actually get better results. How is it that you can move yourself out of things so that you can really be the visionary? How is it that we can stay aware of all the tasks that we're working on? If it's an $8 task, is really worth your time. How can you hire the right people, map out your positions, and then hire the right people so that they can, triple, quadruple all the results, and the creating duplicate systems, really, because everything we're doing, even though as entrepreneurs or business owners we feel like we're the only one that could do it best and all of that, everything is repeatable. It's just like a process. It's all a system. So really creating SOPs, manuals, all of that, not only for the front of the house, which is, your brand, your marketing, your sales, and all of that, which constantly has to be going on, by the way. It doesn't matter that you have a full load of clients. You're growing a company, so you constantly need to have new people in your world. So the only way to do that is to set the right people and systems in place. And then on the back end, of course, with how to upscale the journey of your clients, how to get them better results, what does that look like, and how to create manuals and processes so that your clients are also getting amazing service, which is, how you're going to not only survive, but thrive as a healthy business.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be the little less glamorous part of it that some people don't like to do. But I think you're so right there, where when you actually develop that and you have it in place, I feel like it would be kind of like a breath of fresh air, that you have all this set up, that you don't have to always be the one, like you said, I do it best mentality. You can finally delegate a little bit more, and just the ability to scale is so much more greater in that sense. For you, I'm curious, now that you've been building all this, now that you're like a host and you're building your team, how has it been for scaling? And also, what are some of your future goals? Let's say a year from now, what would you like to be doing?
Yeah, definitely grow into the next level, because for me is leaving a legacy. And I also do a lot of philanthropy work. That was actually part of my vision all along. So for me, the income I make is not only gives me freedom and meets my personal goals, but also is able to make an impact, in the other communities, because I figured out this far that I'm looking for soul fulfillment. And the only way that I can get that is obviously through my clients and servicing them, get better results and helping them, but also helping people that are, that are in need, and communities that are in need. So I actually have my foundation with that. So my bigger plans is to grow beyond 7, go to 8 figures. So of course I need to strategize on my business models, strategize on my branding, strategize on bringing in more people to the team, investing more. Again, investing is another big thing in business, that the bigger you grow, you have to also be very smart over where you are investing your funds, in more technology, streamline more processes, obviously, so things get easier and multiply and duplicate, because the bigger the business, obviously, the more moving parts there are. So that's kind of what I'm working towards right now, and creating new methods and ways to serve more clients with this foundational piece that I've built over the years, so that everything is built on healthy foundation. I was always big on that. So I'm also very corporate culture focused, on building something with really meaty values that could sustain, time, and my employees and my team can also carry that over and carry the vision over and all of that. So I feel like I speak about this a lot of times too. The focus gets narrower. I just get to work on the vision a lot more. So I'm like removing myself slowly out of, the day-to-day, as I'm getting more of these things in my, in my ecosystem, so that I can work on the vision, innovate, strategically move the company in different directions based on the overall vision.
That's awesome. I love that you have more like the philanthropy goals, because I find that so important. Like you said, the self-fulfilling aspect is so key. And I think it really helps us keep going when we know that we're making a bigger impact than just ourselves and our lives, but we're really trying to help our communities also thrive and giving them the tools. So I really appreciate that from you. For people listening that really resonate with your messages and want to learn more, follow you, maybe get your tips and potentially work with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I would send them to my amazing podcast, the Life School MasterClass Show. And that is something I share a lot of wisdom and nuggets as part of the show. So they can find it there anywhere podcasts are available. And also my community on Facebook, Badass Mission Driven Entrepreneurs. I'm big on community. I build everything on those values, community and service. So they can find me there as well. And yeah, get to know a little bit more about what I do and all of that.
Perfect. I always like to leave my episodes and my guests with one final piece of advice that you'd like to give the listeners. If you want us to walk away from this conversation from one key thing, what would it be?
Never stop, never quit. Look at entrepreneurship as a long time journey. Success, I always say, is 10 to 15 years in the making. Be patient. A lot of the work you're doing now is going to you putting in the seeds for, so that you can get it back later. Make sure that you surround yourself with a mentor. So crucial to have the success that you want. And, make sure that you are aligning and you are, working on your intuitive side as well, so that you are aligning your personal life with your business as well, so that you can get the most fulfillment. Because I always say, like, what's the point of building something massive and you're unhappy, or you just like going through the day to day, but you are, as we always struggle as entrepreneurs, letting go of all the other areas in your life. I mean, it's not a happy balance. I always also lose my balance a lot of times, but just teaching yourself a lot of different tools to align yourself, give yourself space and time to vision. I call it, time with the visionary of the business, which would be you. So give yourself that time daily to really, intuitively pick up what is the next direction, what are the next right steps that you need to take.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I love how you just talk about the intuitiveness of it all, where we really have to follow that purpose that we feel inside of ourselves. And I feel like that's really important for success as well. So I like that you said that. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope people that feel this, they go follow you and want to learn more from you. And I know I took something away from it. So thank you so much for sharing some of yourself with us today.
Yeah, it was my absolute pleasure. And I hope I served your audience. Thanks so much, Shelby, for having me on your show.
Yeah, you're so welcome.